All right, today's chapter is on resourcefulness. Thanks to Lulu, because we wouldn't be here without Lulu. Lulu's amazing, and they have been an incredible partner, and probably going to talk about them a little bit in this chapter. So we'll get to that then. But if you haven't yet, go check out lulu.com and see what they have to offer authors and aspiring authors like you. Resourcefulness. Don't wait for the opportunity, create it. George Bernard Shaw. There are so many opportunities out there for those who are willing to go after it. Yet too many of us wait for the opportunities for a number of reasons. We don't have the right connections or enough money or enough time. The perceived lack of resources prevents us from taking action and creating opportunities for us and our businesses. It would be a more valid argument decades ago, before the internet, the democratization of our industries, and the rise of the solo creator. But now, show me your lack of resources, and I'll show you someone on the other side of the world doing more with less, and stop that argument dead in its tracks. We've got to make another mindset shift here. From lack of resources thinking, I can't because, to a resourceful mindset. What can I do with what I have? Paul Miller is a friend and fellow author. We both wrote and self-published our last books around the same time. We even shared recommendations on editors as we entered that stage of the writing and publishing process. After Paul published his book, The Pathless Path, Imagining a New Story for Work and Life, he was presented with publishing offers. But by the time they came around, he didn't need them at all. Not only were the offers too low to be enticing, Paul had successfully sold over 20,000 copies on his own of his book, leveraging what he had: an audience and a network who loved his book and shared it with others. When the pandemic hit in 2020, I was furloughed from the TV show I was working on as a senior producer. I had 4 months of uncertainty in front of me, at least, and didn't just want to sit around and wait for the government to take care of me. So I looked at what was possible with my skill set, the state of the world at the beginning of the pandemic, and forged a path. I started producing my own online courses and created a site to sell them on. When they didn't sell, my audience didn't really see me as a teacher, educator, or coach, nor did they have any extra money. Well, I got resourceful and I found someone with a bigger, more engaged audience. I produced a course with a creative partner, and we sold it to her audience to the tune of $10,000 in the first week alone. This was May of 2020. So again, people didn't have a lot of extra spending cash. They were freaking out, but we managed to do it because we took a different approach. That business since turned into a 6-figure success story, and I've recently spun it off from Craftsman Creative to position it for a sale in a year or so. In order to make this mindset shift, you've got to first recognize when your limiting beliefs are showing up. I can't because is a good indicator that you're thinking in a limited way. You're focusing on why something isn't possible rather than how to make it a reality. So let's take a potential partnership as an example. A limiting mindset would make you think about how small your audience is, how little you're bringing to the table, and how you don't have the right connections. Authors often struggle with this limiting belief, and they wait for a publisher or agent to pick them, which never happens because they don't come across as hungry or active. A resourceful mindset would think, who already has an abundance of what I need? I got to give credit to my friend Daniel Priestley for that very concise way of putting it. Who already has an abundance of what I need? Someone out there has the audience you want. The leads you need for your business exist in their audience, and they can very easily recommend your business or services. Someone out there has an abundance of money. They just sold a business or came into some money or are actively looking for good deals to invest in. While it might take some time, you could forge a relationship with them, and when the time is right, pitch them on your business or project or opportunity. Anyone can make friends, grow their network, come up with investable projects and businesses, and create opportunities for partnerships. But you have to have a different empowering mindset to open up those possibilities. Whenever you find yourself focusing on limitations, shift your focus to abundance, resourcefulness, and a different approach to get the outcome you're after. Make it a game. Create a limiting mindset swear jar and call your team out on it when they say things that stem from a limiting mindset. Create a practice of writing down 10 possible approaches to an outcome every single day. Doing this helps you shift your mindset away from limitations and towards being more resourceful. It's part of your job as the leader of your business to take responsibility over your mindset and get resourceful. You can 2 to 10x your opportunities by consciously shifting this mindset. What might be possible for you in your business? What might be possible for you in your business if you had that much more partnerships, opportunities, connections, investment, and projects coming to you rather than having to seek them out? So, take action. Start by identifying at least 3 limiting beliefs. Again, these often take the form of I can't because. So think of an outcome you care about, a new project, raising money, creating more profitability, partnering with another business. What resources do you lack? Write them all down. Now we need to take an extra step and attack all of those. So next to each one of those limitations that you write down, I want you to think of at least 1, but ideally 3 or more, ways that you can get resourceful and take action. So for example, say you want to start and monetize a podcast. The limitations are no audience, it's a brand new show, there's no network, there's no downloads, it's not enticing to sponsors, and it'll take forever to monetize. Okay, well, if you just stopped there, you would never do it because there's all these limiting beliefs clouding your way and preventing you from taking action. So instead, we got to get resourceful. What could you do? Well, I could partner with another podcast host who has an existing audience. I could create a new show, but on their existing feed, so we start with thousands of listeners instead of 0. They already have sponsors they work with, as well as a team who can go out and sell them. So we could use a limited inventory model instead of the typical CPM model and charge a premium that way. This is a real life example. I did this exact thing when I was coming up with the 10K Creator Show and partnered with my friend Joe Polizzi. I personally made over $12,000 from the first season of that show because I got resourceful and I took action. Not too shabby for someone who's never had more than 150 downloads on my own podcast episodes. That first season has been listened to over 30,000 times. Massive success. Okay, let's do one more. How about the outcome of getting paid to write a book? Well, what are the limitations around that? Limitations are like, I don't have an agent or a publisher. I don't have a big enough audience to get an agent or publisher. My subject is too niche. I'll never sell enough to earn out my advance. That advance would be too small anyway. Okay, well, again, if you focus on just the negatives or the reasons and the limiting beliefs not to do it, you'll never do it. So instead, you got to get resourceful. So what could you write down? Well, I could get a sponsor for the book. Use the existing network I have to find a company that would benefit from supporting the book and getting exposure from it alongside me and my business. I could put together a compelling pitch, list out a dozen potential companies, and go to them over the next month until I get a yes. This is another personal example that came together for the book you're listening to right now. I approached Lulu knowing that they needed a spokesperson for this audience of business owner authors. People who are using books as business cards on steroids, who needed to self-publish in order to have the email addresses of the people who purchased their books, but they still want the benefit of getting paid to write a book. So I sat down with Matt, the Senior VP of Marketing at a recent event, and pitched him on the idea of sponsoring this book as it was being written and published in public. He said yes, and a few short weeks later, they committed $12,000 and services like editing, design, and promotion to the partnering and support of this book. So I'm literally being paid to write the book, just in an atypical way. So now it's your turn. List out your limitations, then immediately combat them with resourcefulness. Think of ways you can get that outcome that doesn't require permission from gatekeepers or resources you don't yet have. Take responsibility of creating the opportunities you want in your business rather than waiting for them. All right, that's today's chapter. Special thanks again to Lulu. They've been an incredible partner, and I'm glad that I get to talk about it in this way, that it wasn't some like NDA, closed-lipped, you can't talk about the deal or the process, because what I told them I wanted to do was share the details, the behind the scenes, and help unlock your mindset when it comes to what's possible. Because if I had just thought about this as the author that I am with a very small audience and only selling a couple hundred copies of my last book, there's no way I would ever get an advance to write this book. But here we are Now I retain 100% ownership of my book and control over how it gets distributed and published. And I got sponsors to pay for the time it's going to take me to write and publish this book. So I'm not a unique case. I would consider myself an outlier here. Or I wouldn't consider myself an outlier here. I think I'm a very run-of-the-mill creator, and there are plenty of creators that are better than me at the creator thing. But I just was able to unlock this mindset, and that's why it's so important that I'm sharing these ideas and tips with you in this book, so that you can go, wow, maybe the thing I've always wanted to do is actually more possible than I thought it was. So resourcefulness will help you get there. Thanks for listening. As always, I would love to hear your feedback. So Darren@craftsmancreative.co. Hit me up with some feedback, some juicy tidbits on how to make this better, and I appreciate it. Thank you in advance, and I will see you in the next episode.